Joining me now for the Farmer Rapid Fire here on Real Ag Radio with Pioneer Seeds Canada, it's Nicci Rasmussen out of Taber, Alberta. Welcome here, Nicci.
Hey, thanks for having me today, Lindsay.
All right, so let's talk about, and this dovetails in beautifully with all the farmers we've heard from today, looking at some learning opportunities over the winter, what they want to dig into. Let's talk today about making those hybrid selections, making those variety selections for the right reasons, for the right acres. How do we unpack all this? Walk us through that.
Right. So it's something I've been seeing a lot lately. A lot of farmers buying one hybrid, putting that across all their acres, whether it's canola or wheat. And so many times there's a product that would be much better suited for a certain field than another. If one field, let's say, has a problem with blackleg, maybe the hybrid you bought isn't best suited to combat that disease. If you have an area of high fertility and what you're growing is maybe prone to lodging, maybe it'd be better to put a different hybrid on that field. And I think if we, really assess the needs of our farm and the different fields, we can better match a product to give us the best return. And I think farmers find that maybe can be a little daunting and confusing, but I think there's still a lot of opportunity and yield left on the table by brushing the whole farm with one product.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it does certainly simplify the purchase.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you're right. We know, there's variability within a field, but there's certainly variability between fields, even more so and as we get from one end to the farm to the other. So how would you sort of prioritize the selection process? So let's use canola, for example. Do you start with, disease, maybe risk and work your way through, or what does that decision-making tree sort of look like?
Well, I think I'd look at the field maybe, individually and say, okay, historically on this field, I have a problem X, right? Um, is this a hybrid that's going to help me manage that problem of X? And X could be a disease, it could be different weeds, right? Is a different herbicide system maybe better suited to this field to manage the weeds problems there? Like I said, it could be, this is traditionally high fertility, high yield. I need something that can stand really well. So I would think, historically farmers take such good cropping records these days, review that like on each field, as much as possible. What is my major, yield limiting factor here? And is there a hybrid I can put there that would be better suited for performing, optimally there? Right? Because if I put the same hybrid over all of my acres, or maybe even two, depending on the size of the farm, there's definitely going to be instances where you're not going to be happy with the performance of that product on that specific field.
Hmm. And how important as well, sort of layering on top of that, is harvest management, especially if we think about canola. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if it's all the same hybrid, you're looking at all the same likely maturity. Um, Farms may not be able to get that crop in the bin all at the same time. Harvest
Yeah,
is
and it
not
is
always kind.
it is a big issue, and farms are getting larger, and labor is a hurdle, right? So managing your harvest window is important. So you're absolutely right. If we were to move, a certain percentage of our acres to a earlier hybrid, sometimes yes, we might give up yield because earlier hybrids have, often historically yielded slightly less. But you're going to save a lot of that because you're getting into your later fields at the right time as well. Being able to start harvest when I need to start harvest instead of, having things out there waiting too long. And then that's when we start to see, plants can degrade and yield can be lost for sure. So that's absolutely another great reason and something to factor in on what your harvest window management is.
You mentioned on cereals, especially that lodging risk
Mm-hmm.
and that potential for that. How does that factor in as far as matching variety to field? Because we certainly know there is a wide range of standability between all the options out there, and there are so many.
Absolutely, right? Like, canola is kind of what I deal with the most. And, I definitely have hybrids that under high fertility, say here in Southern Alberta, under irrigation. Yeah, I'm not going to put that product because I know that under those situations, it would have a higher risk of lodging. So I would be better, and even though that maybe did really great on a dryland field or somewhere else, well, if you've got a lot of feedlot manure and irrigation, you got high nutrient load, different hybrids are going to be much more prone to go down. So it's looking at all the factors and picking the best product for that field. And then I think a lot farmers would see a lot more consistent performance, and maximizing the potential, right? We know things aren't getting cheaper in our industry, so we need every field to maximize its potential, the best we can manage within our operation.
Now, the flip side to this was, can you overcomplicate this though? Can you get
Um,
too complex?
I mean, yes and no. And I think it's all, different farms are definitely going to have a different ability to manage, um, different hybrids. And, is it a different one for if you've got 20 different fields of canola? Do you need 20 hybrids? Of course you don't, right? Is the best you can manage 3 different hybrids to meet the solutions best, then do that. But like, don't use an excuse to not, but yeah, it doesn't need to be, super complicated. I had the honor to interview Dave Hula. Dave's the record holder for grain corn in the US. And Dave talked about this topic, right? And he's using, I think it was 13 hybrids on his 2,000-acre farm. And do we need to be there? Probably not. But should we stay at 1 hybrid or 2? Absolutely not, right? Find the right balance for your operation, but take the time to consider your needs for those fields and combat the biggest problems you can and that the industry has solutions for.
Hmm. It's a great example to think about, the reason that someone like Dave does that many different hybrids is a great reason why the individual doesn't need to. We can learn
Right.
things from,
Yeah.
those really great trials and really great attempts that others make, and take the lessons from those. We don't necessarily have to do it all ourselves.
Yeah, you don't need to
Yeah,
grow 13 products on your
yeah,
farm, but you shouldn't be growing 1, 2, maybe 3 even. So,
yeah.
and I think it goes the same for like, herbicide systems and crops, right? Like, are you spraying all of your wheat with one herbicide and is that the right decision to make? Or should I be maybe, managing, I rented some new acres, they're dirty, I got to mix that up. So take the time to break things down, do it for the right reason. And I can appreciate people are busy and it could complicate it, but find the right balance on your farm.
And hey, we've got a winter ahead. Spend some
We
time
do.
scratching it out. It's the
Yes, and
learning
there's
season.
lots of great technology that exists too, even for farmers to manage this within their own operations and put the right spray profiles in and stuff. So use the technology, take the time, make the best decisions for your farm.
All right. Nicci, thanks so much for joining me here on Real Ag Radio. I really appreciate it.